That's
fair.
God. Please, God, can we move forward from this question? It's giving me the rickets.
Those are the rickets, Spence. Those are just your joints.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's why I think, me personally, the top sheet people are the Illuminati and just all about the New World Order. One blanket for life.
One blanket world order.
One blanket
That's
world
how they
order.
get you. They actually created the Snuggie Man.
Maybe I'm the Illuminati and I don't even know it with my one blanket.
You can't. That's the whole trick of the Illuminati. They don't know they are the Illuminati, but they do know that what they think they know is important.
I think it's dangerous to lump everybody in that group. That's kind of a blanket statement.
Oh, fuck the top sheet. Coming straight from the underground.
What you guys missed was the three of our dumbasses driving around downtown in the
Listening to
middle of the
NWA.
night listening to NWA.
Yeah,
in a mom van.
We're so white.
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
You beat me to it. Okay.
You're
well,
welcome.
and on that note, on that endless string of puns, folks, this is the Beacon House Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Spencer.
Episode number, my name is Hunter.
Number 10. My name is Casey.
Thank you for playing
Number
along
10, guys.
Non-Euclidean
We made it.
sentence
We
structure.
made it.
That's right. We made it to
Home
episode
base of 10
number
episodes.
10. And as
The
we
elusive
promised,
episode mailbag.
number 10,
Mailbag.
we promised you guys it was coming, and here it is. We're going to do the mailbag
time has
episode.
come for the mailbag.
We are going to answer your questions. We're going to shut the fuck up for a minute about what we want to talk about. We want to talk about now what you want to talk about.
But technically, they still want to hear us talk just about their topic.
I'm trying to make it about them. I'm trying to generate some self-interest.
It is about them. This is like you guys are the guest. You guys are the co-host for this episode.
And I'm going to make you a deal. If you guys like this episode, if we adequately address the answers to some of these questions that you've sent in, I want you guys to do me a favor. I'm throwing the gauntlet down here. We're going to do for you what we said we're going to do. I want you guys to do something for us. Subscribe. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Podcast Addict, whatever. Go ahead. If you think we do a good job, subscribe to it. We just sort of found out that was important to have subscribers. So please subscribe. And then if you really want to do us a solid, tell somebody about the podcast. Try to get them on board.
Well, and since we're already on this topic of subscribing, liking the video, things like that, I'm going to go and get this out of the way now so we can just go all the way to the very end on Mailbag, Instagram, Twitter, at Beacon House Knox. Email us if you want to be on the next mailbag at beaconhouseknox@gmail.com.
That's right.
And we'll be doing these. Hopefully we can do these every 10 episodes.
That'd be great.
We might want to extend them out a little bit depending on
Absolutely.
how many we get.
Sure. Why not?
So you guys ready to get into this?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Who has
All
question
right.
number one?
I'll take the first question from our loving Ferg,
Oh, no.
Mr.
John
Ferguson.
Ferguson, the man. God, we love you.
And he sent us, the moment I made that Facebook post a couple days ago, he sent us probably one of the greatest questions for me, at least. I love this. He wants to know, is trail mix a conspiracy by the raisin companies to trick us into eating those abominations of God?
Do you think so? Do you think trail mix is just a construct to forward the agenda of the raisin industry?
I don't think raisins are actually good for you, so yeah, I'd agree.
What? Aren't they supposed to be good for you, right?
They might be, but it just seems like dried up grapes. I'd rather eat a grape.
They tell you it's dried
You'd
up
rather
grapes.
eat a grape than like a handful of really good trail mix?
I'd rather eat a grape than a handful of raisins.
I don't think it's the raisin industry, though. I think it's marsupial droppings mixed in with, like, nuts.
Okay, well, that's an answer.
I'm Ferg's favorite. Let's just admit it right now.
That definitely qualifies as an answer.
Ferg's like, Hunter, you're absolutely right.
I don't know if it's a good answer, but it's an answer.
He didn't ask for a good answer.
One
Should they
more
have
wanted
to
to-
ask? Could you guys please answer my question and don't be a dick? Should they have to say that?
If they're 10 episodes in sending emails, I should know what to expect at this point.
That's fair.
Fact.
But
That's a
while
fact.
we're still close to the beginning of the episode, I have one more question here from our buddy Zeke. Zeke, he actually saw him personally today.
Okay.
I recorded this episode and asked me a question. I thought it was interesting enough to put it on the podcast. I want to see
right.
where you guys stand. He wants to know where the whole funny beginning thing that I do came from. And I
Okay.
can't honestly remember. I think I just just one day I was like, hey, before you start announcing the Beacon House podcast and talking about us, let me just say something real stupid at the beginning.
No, that is true, and I think pretty sure that Zeke told me that's his favorite part of the podcast is like the random fucking thing Casey's going to say at the beginning.
And I felt really bad because he thought that we actually were carrying, or he wondered if we were carrying on conversation.
Well, that was supposed to be kind of the implied illusion.
I don't
cut
know
in while we were talking about something weird, you know. Oh, I mean,
Casey's totally lied just now. What we did, we agreed at the outset that we would just sit down as a group and talk because we tried to come up with structured episodes, and they're not terrible, but we felt like they were the weakest as far as energy and actual content. So we just wung it once.
Wung it?
wung it?
Winged it. Fuck. It's early. We winged it.
Did you really?
I said wung it, yeah.
The non-Euclidean meta-narrative fucking guy, you just said wung it?
Hey, I thought we were going to make this about the questions and the listeners.
You know what?
Shut the fuck up, Spencer.
Yes, sir. You're right.
Mic drop.
So, anyways, I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm trying to back up on
What was that?
That was the wolf next door.
Even my ears. I don't even listen to this podcast with headphones, but even my ears are bleeding.
But anyways, to answer the
There's
question,
animals
truthfully,
roaming around in
we sit
woods.
down, we start talking, just shooting the shit, and then as soon as we feel like there's an energy in the conversation, Spencer will hit record and point, and then that way we know we're live.
That's
and
not how it works.
not
Don't
true at all.
fucking.
That's not
You
true
are
at all.
ruining everything for Zeke.
You
right now.
yucked our yum.
I didn't. We're yucking his yum.
Actually, I think
So
me and
questions?
you are yucking Hunter's yum.
Yeah,
who's yucking who's yum?
We are yucking Zeke's yum.
Really,
Yeah.
right now,
That's-
we're yucking the yum of all the listeners until you get back to the
That's
fucking
okay.
mailbag.
That's fair. That's fair. So I took the first two. You guys go ahead. I got a couple
You've got
more,
all the
but I'll-
questions. I don't
No,
have the
no,
questions.
I got one.
Okay, let's go. What do you got?
Okay, so I said that I was going to edit this question, and the person that sent it in immediately said, "No, you're not." And being someone that is, by my nature, I have to be subservient to this individual on some level.
Hi, Libby.
It's Adam.
Never mind. Sorry.
I mean, he's the older brother.
Love you, Libby.
To get started, Adam sent many questions, and we'll
One's
get.
apparently aimed at me, and it's very
Well,
volatile.
That's what I'm hoping
It's not
for.
for Casey necessarily, but you are free to answer it.
Yep,
of course.
let's go.
Why? Question number one: why is Casey
Okay.
such a giant piece of shit?
That's a very good question. I'll take a crack at that one. I think it's pretty much self-imposed, and he's chosen to be. he shows up like this every day.
Yeah.
In fact, Adam, he woke up like that, and you're lucky that you're only hearing it on the other end of this podcast. I have to sit right fucking next to it. Imagine me. Imagine the pain I'm in.
I mean, like, why wouldn't you be if you knew that you could be loved without doing anything?
Check, please.
All right, see you guys later. What else you got?
Am I a
Danny?
piece of shit? I don't feel like I'm
Stop.
that big of a
Don't-
piece of shit.
Don't get all
No,
sensitive.
you're a spud. Come on, you're a spud.
Now I tricked everybody
We
into
talked
saying
about
nice
it.
things to me. Suck it, Adam.
Casey
Fishing for
is
compliments.
the most polished turd you will ever meet in your life.
That's
he
a solid-
sparkles.
That's
a
actually
fact.
that is
A literal pine
Hammer on the
cone.
nail.
A literal pine cone.
so. My answer, response to that question of
I
me
don't
being a
think
piece
you
of
get
shit.
to answer that question. Well,
No,
yes,
he
you.
absolutely. We
Yes, I
okay,
do.
okay. Go ahead, Casey.
The reason I'm a piece of shit is that I just don't care, and I think that's been established by now. Hunter, why am I a piece of shit?
You're not.
Okay, well, there we go.
Oh, take the easy way out.
I'm not taking the easy way out. I'm taking the
milksop.
truthful way out. You guys will in a few months. Never mind.
Okay, cool. Thanks for leading everybody on.
Non-Euclidean sentence structure.
Thanks for that.
But honestly, Adam, if you want to go out and grab a beer sometime, buddy, I'd love to sit down and just bend your ear on why I'm such a piece of
don't
shit.
dodge the question by hitting on him. God.
That's never. That's
Honestly, I've met him. He's adorable. Like I would cuddle that man for days.
Okay, well, we've answered the
and
next
Adam
question about
sent another
Casey's sexuality.
question. Adam sent 3 questions back to back,
He'd
but
be
they're
the big
directly
spoon.
linked. Adam's questions number 2, 3, and 4 are as follows: Who is Hunter's favorite brother? Who is Hunter's most talented brother? Who is Hunter's most well-to-do brother, etc.? And the answer is a resounding as a brother of Jesus Christ. It has to be him.
All right, well, get your pamphlets off the table. Thanks.
I'm just saying, man.
Yeah, I'm not putting anything in the collection plate.
You're
Next
on the list
question.
somewhere, Casey. Hey, don't shit on me. I'm answering a viewer's question.
That's fair. That's fair.
fair.
Jesus Christ. Literally.
Wait, are you talking to your brother?
Go to another question.
That's actually really good. I feel like that answer.
That took about 10 seconds. Okay.
Why are you so mean to Adam? He's such a cool guy.
I'm not mean to... Wait, why am I mean... How am I mean to Adam?
I don't know.
I can't be mean to Adam.
Why not?
He's my older brother. That's just how it works.
I can be mean to my older brother. I mean, he doesn't take it. He just beats me up. But I can.
Well, that's
still
what
be
I'm
mean
saying.
to him.
See, I have what they call a survivor instinct, and I don't like being pummeled.
That's fair.
You being pummeled so much is why you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, I can see that. That's fair.
Please, God, can we move forward from this question? It's giving me the rickets.
Those aren't the rickets, Spence. Those are just your joints.
I was instructed to ask. I didn't want to. You have another question, Casey?
Actually, I have a question from an anonymous person that they sent an email. I could read out their email, but I'm not going to.
We can't do that. So
I think it's just somebody that just didn't want to be brought up on the podcast. But anyways, they're wanting to know the origins of Beacon House, like where it all started. Okay. I feel like we're only 10 episodes in. It's kind of early to be talking about origin story, but I thought it was an interesting question. I'd love to hear Spencer, since he hasn't talked much, tell the story of how Beacon House came to be.
I mean, I think it was just me and you talking about it. Well, I started to get real into podcasts like in the last 2 years, maybe.
Same here.
And there were some that I really, really followed. Some I liked. There were some that I feel like didn't quite address everything I wanted to, or some that I would only like certain episodes. People probably feel that same way about us, but the idea of just like having one sounded cool, and there's a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about. And of course, I can't get enough to listen to myself talk because I'm narcissistic. But you and I met up a couple times, and you said, "Hey, I really want to do a podcast." And I was like, "Well, you know, I've got all this like recording gear, and like it wouldn't be that hard to do it, and why not? What would we talk about?" And we sort of kicked the idea. We had a couple beers. We kicked the idea around.
I think that was like September of last year. We started.
It's been a minute, but we just sort of talked about it conceptually, and then we brought Hunter on board, who like for obvious reasons because he's brilliant to talk about things, and we just kind of did it. We didn't really know where it was going to go. Shut up. We didn't know where it was going to go, but we just kind of
love you.
It just kind of happened, you know. It wasn't like we're out to change the world. We just turned the mics on and started talking.
Totally out to change the world.
Honestly, like,
and you probably will change the world, Hunter.
With that beautiful voice of his, yes, he will.
With that silky smooth benediction.
In the arms of an
sweet
angel.
Arm that he does drawings with. Sorry, that almost got a little too bad. Yep. I saved it.
Commission page coming soon. Don't worry about it. We'll cross promote later.
We were sitting down talking, carrying on conversation. I think just politics in general, or we were talking, movies or whatnot. And I was like, man, this would just be awesome to sit down and record this, because why not? Why not force people to listen to us talk all the time?
Yeah, Spencer and Casey were sitting there going, man, we sound great. We should record this for posterity. The world needs to know what we think of each other and other things.
We kind of didn't know how we sounded until we got like a few episodes in, and we discovered that like it's fun to listen to us talk about certain things certain ways, and then we kind of even went off tangents. Like I went on that huge political tangent, which like some people hated it, some people loved it, but like every time I listened to it, I thought, God, man, it's just like it was too much. It was too personal. Like I became too opinionated. But the honesty in this podcast has been kind of the ongoing theme. Anything we come across that's just super stellar, we're going to do maybe like a full episode about it and put it as a bonus episode,
And also, I'd like to point out that Spencer's being very modest at this point, because he's leaving out one big factor here on kind of the birthing of this podcast, which was I think I was just bored, or I don't know, creative rut, I guess. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to like write. I wanted to do something creative, make content of some sort, and I had no platform or no gear or anything to start with. And I was talking to Spencer about it. I was like, man, I just need a push. Like I need something. I talked about it for about 2 or 3 months. Finally came down and
I was in the same
recorded.
place. Like the whole reason that I started building this little secret layer that we've got down here is I also needed a push. I needed something. I was just, I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life and just whatever. But like it was to the point where I was like, you know what, man, I'm either going to get back into like expressing myself through music or through whatever, or I'm going to have to spend a ton of money on therapy. So I chose to do the stuff that I know I like doing, and that's why this whole thing came to be. And right about that time, I ran into you, and you're like, "Man, I need something." I was like, "Fuck, I need something too. Like, let's do this thing. Let's just see what happens." And at the same time, like Hunter and I started writing music together, and of course that's coming up. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I'd been pestering you for years and years with Spencer. Like a just a literal Dennis the Menace kind of nuisance in the background anytime I'd see him. Be like, hey, how's life going? Good. Do you want to sing, or we'll do a band, right? And just incessant, and I don't know how you put up with my shit for so long. But then one day he was like, I got an idea. It'll be a little while, but blah, 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 blah. And I went home to Libby, and I was like, Spencer said that there might be room. We might do a band one day. And that was like the thing that I held on to that was my glimmer of light. And then like a year later, he goes, hey, I got a band room. You want to come down now? And I was like, oh, I totally thought he was placating me. I thought Spencer's like the nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life. And I was like,
I'm glad somebody thinks that.
I think he doesn't hate me, but he's just got to be like...
yanking your chain.
Yeah, he's got to be like, I got to like keep this kid from like... sinking, so I'm gonna lift him up a little bit. But then he actually called one day and was like, "Hey, got the band room. Let's go make music." And
it only took like 5 years. But no, fucking the truth of that is like I wanted to musically. I wanted to work with Hunter ever since I met him and then heard him sing. Hunter's a phenomenal singer. Some people listen to this already know. Everybody else is going to know very soon. But it wasn't just what a great singer you were. It was kind of just like you're out. And I'm going to blow smoke up your ass, but. I like the way Hunter looks at the world. I like his view of things, and I like how he interprets them into like a palatable art form. So for instance, when it's time to write songs about something, he does it really fucking cool. If you go, hey, there's this thing, I really want to write about this feeling of like whatever, and he'll go, okay, cool, and he just writes it out perfectly. So it's not just a matter of I don't know. I think he sees the world in a cool way, and he translates it, he interprets it into music in a very, very cool way. And I just knew, I was like, I got to work with this guy. Sooner or later, it's got to happen.
And that's one thing, I mean, we always like to pick on Hunter, and Hunter easily throws it right back at us. But I feel like that's kind of like
and then feels bad about it immediately.
I mean, and I do. I mean, there's like we were talking about earlier, I'll say some really mean shit to you, but after the moment, and I'll stick to my guns until the moment Spencer presses the button to stop recording, and then I look, I'm like, maybe we should edit that out. That was a little mean. I don't know if I want to leave that in. I love Hunter to death. I don't want people to think I hate him or something.
You can tell we're true friends because we take a lot of shots at each other. You know, if you see people that are so stiff around each other where they're just like, well, okay, oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, that's a very nice hat you have there. No, those aren't real friends. The friends where you go, hey, what's up, you dick face? How's it going today? You know? Maybe not. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's, yeah.
A lot of people with manners are listening
I've known
to this
Hunter.
That's not how it works at all.
I've known you since, early 2000s when I started working at books?
I want to say almost like 13 years, like probably 2005-ish.
Because I knew you before that when my brother worked at Books A Million.
Yeah, because I knew him first.
The legendary Brian Bishop.
Yeah, I knew Brian forever and a day, and then you showed up and you were like, yeah, that's my brother. And I was like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
I was like, you're just trying to be cool. You just want to be Brian's brother, so I'll like you. That's totally what I thought was happening.
I didn't have an ID at the time, so I couldn't prove it until he came over and was like, "Fuck do you want?" And I was like, "Hey, Brian."
Hey, buddy.
Hunter was like, "That is totally your brother." Got it.
Yeah. So I have a question that was sent in by one of our occasional co-hosts. This is Jordan Shipley. You may remember her from the Turbo Nerd episode and possibly from future episodes coming up.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge.
I feel like she's kind of taking a dig at me on this. But the question is, true to form, we're going to read the whole question. It says, what is Spencer's favorite kind of dog? And I will answer. She's doing that because she knows I'm not a dog person.
I actually know exactly what kind of dog person you are.
I'm a cat person. But the main reason I want to, no disrespect to people that love dogs. I'm allergic to dogs, so I've never had the option of being a dog person. I love all animals. I'm absolutely nuts over animals and blah, blah, blah. But my favorite type of dog are the other people's dogs. You know, the ones that are over there that I can walk away from and I don't have to go home with.
Good misdirection.
Yeah. But honestly, though, I do have a favorite type of dog. People are like, whoa.
Well, let us guess before you say it.
Okay, go. Guess.
Let's see if we can guess it.
Guess.
Hunter?
You're not going to guess it.
Can we have 3 guesses each?
Yes.
Okay.
I can see it, what I think it is, but I need the name. So you go first. I'm looking it up.
Corgi?
Nope.
Maltese?
Nope.
I'm gonna save my second. Hold on.
Why are you saving what?
I'm gonna save my third.
I'm
gonna
not
wait.
kidding. $100 on the line right now.
$100. God.
'Cause it's kind of
gotta
an
be a
obscure-
smaller dog. Cause
Why do you think that?
Because you're a cat person.
Yeah, but
you
it's not
probably
because of
don't
the
wanna
size of the.
Are you a big?
You
dog
think I'm
or
a little dog guy? You think I'm running around with like a chihuahua?
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, you fuck
In your
you.
purse,
Oh, God.
right next to your.
Give me your third guess. Go ahead. Get out of the way. Get out of the running for the money, you punk. He's got one left. Hunter, you go.
Go ahead. Go
Okay, my first guess is a dog type called a Nina Tucker.
No.
Okay.
Is it a?
Spit it out. Spit it out. Spit it out, you dick.
I still.
All you want to do is drag him down. All he wants to do is stamp you out.
Is that a song lyric or something?
Yes, it's Slipknot. I hate you for saying it, but I love you for knowing it.
My last guess would be the French Bulldog.
No, but that's a pretty cool dog. I will say
The one
that's
that
a
you
pretty
put like
cool.
jacket on and put some like
No,
sunglasses on.
no.
You
Don't
jacket
put
on.
don't put clothes
could-
on animals.
What?
No, you get a French Bulldog, put a hoodie on them. That like a French
Casey's like,
Bulldog
you
size
let it drive the car. You give it your library card. It gets the code to your alarm at your house.
Okay,
go. You've got two more.
Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this, but in
me see it.
Azawak, like an Azawakh.
I have no idea what that is, but that's not it.
He's not going to pay you. You know that, right? You can just name off German Shepherd or
I
something.
swear to God, if he guesses it, I'll pay him.
No, you won't.
I will. I'll go sell some guitar pedals over there or something. The only reason I
Okay,
make that
it's-
bet, it's a very obscure kind of dog.
It's like a Shar-Pei or something?
No. It is
If he says it, I'm going to shit.
a
He's just
a
being-
Norwegian Lundahound.
That's not it either.
Fuck! The way that you said that, so I thought I had
There,
$100.
but honorable. I'll give an honorable mention before I tell you what it is. There is a crazy, crazy dog called
Chinook.
a Caucasian legend. If you look that up, we were talking about it one day at work, and somebody goes, "Look up the Caucasian legend," and it looks like Hound of the Baskervilles. I mean, it's a terrifying dog. And while we were going,
You're not kidding.
do you see
I
it?
just Googled
Everybody
Let me see
Google the Caucasian legend. Yeah,
It's a big dog. I still think the Alaskan Malamute giant is still. It's like
friend
a
of mine,
giant dire
a
wolf.
buddy of mine had a giant Alaskan Malamute, and it was incredibly huge.
I heard they're lovable as shit. Though.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they just,
super,
like
super nice dog.
Oh, it's totally a Saint Bernard.
What? No.
Yeah, 'cause
no.
Cujo.
Anyway, Google Caucasian legend. The funny story I was going to tell when my buddy Alex, while we were looking it up, he goes, "That was my nickname in high school." So moving forward from there, it was funny, you dick. Moving forward, my favorite dog is called a Keeshond. And it basically looks like a chow, except it's all smoky and gray, and they have little glasses. Like they have circles around their eyes that go back. It looks like the dog's wearing glasses, but they're big and furry, and they're barge dogs from the New England or whatever.
It's a Keeshond.
Keeshond. Or Keesond.
It's a
depending.
Keesond.
Keeson. Anyway, that's my favorite dog because I had one when I was little. But I like pugs
Is that
a
how you
lot,
found
too.
out you were
you like
allergic?
pugs.
I like pugs.
I like pugs.
Pugs are awesome.
Everyone always told me never get a pug.
Oh, wait, dude, they're great. Pugs are super cool.
But I do think, honestly, my favorite kind of dog is other people's dogs because I house and dog sit for a lot of people.
Right.
And I enjoy their dog's company for about as long as they're gone, and then I want nothing to do with dogs for
That makes
about
sense.
a month.
And I mean, I enjoy cats because they're low maintenance. I'm not looking for something that loves me unconditionally. Like I like.
I'm also not looking for something I have to have a chore of taking out and letting it poop every day.
Yeah,
I sound real selfish saying that, but I
No,
really,
it's a pain in the ass, especially when it's cold or when it's raining or when you're trying to sleep or whatever. Like again, whoever's out there, if you've got a dog and it's your best friend, more power to you. And I love people that have a dog and a cat, and those two are best friends. I think that's the greatest story ever.
Okay, so we have a question my mom sent in, actually. Where do you see yourselves 5 years from now?
celebrating the 5th year. Are you asking me this question?
Spencer, 5 years from now, where do you see yourself? Question from Diana.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know why she sent that, but that's
No,
one of
that's a
two
good
questions.
No, that's a great question.
No, it is, but I don't.
It's a little less spectacular when you're my age, when you're in your 40s, you're like, well, I'll be on top of the world. I have a family,
So-
all this stuff. Like when I've been asking myself that for like 15 years, man, I don't know.
Spence, in 5 years when you're collecting,
Social Security.
Okay. You know what?
beat me to it.
You know what? That was fair. You dicks.
Going to the early bird special.
Yeah, thanks for that. So
That's where he sees himself at an SNS cafeteria getting the early bird special.
I hate you. I don't, which I'm not above doing that, just so you know. I don't know. I just want to be, in 5 years, I would just like to be a more complete, better version of myself. I would like to just be more authentic. I would like to have contributed a little bit more in terms of this podcast or anything that I do, any output that I have, music, whatever, the people that I work with, I would like to contribute more. I just like to have been done better for 5 years. That's all.
Right.
I don't particularly care if it's this status or that status or what I'm doing or blah, blah, blah. I just want to be doing better, you know.
And he wants world peace, and the swimsuit competition's coming up right after this.
Oh, God. Casey, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully, in 5 years, I could see myself having this as a full-time job. That would be fantastic.
That's a goal.
That would be
too.
super
Yeah.
fucking
In
fantastic.
5 years, be producing content for the Beacon House, whether it be, just any content that we can create. You know, we have a lot of things on the horizon that we're looking at, and if those things take off, we can do more. I have more ideas. Me and you have discussed several different stories we want to cover. So in 5 years, I would love this to be my full-time job.
Damn right. We're going to get more than 23 views on YouTube.
Please start watching.
That's why we said subscribe. Fucking tell somebody.
I don't know. I feel like most of our listeners are on
Spotify and all that.
podcast apps,
Yeah.
not on YouTube.
Let's hope.
And that's why, hopefully, what we got working up coming in June will bring more people to our YouTube page.
Yeah.
Yeah, subscribe, leave us a review. It actually helps. We didn't know to really look at that stuff, but now we're really looking at that stuff. So
I definitely have an end goal 5 years from now of being well established in medical and financial independence and stability, both, because I've had one of each of those with finance and medicine, but I've never had both of them where it was either stable and independent at the same time. It was always one or the other somehow. That, still married to Libby and her doing actively somehow wherever we have to be to make it work, but voice work for Funimation plus her audiobooks, and then again, like you said, able to my band with Spencer somehow, if that actually blew up, which I don't think any of us have even really thought of that yet, but if that blew up somehow, that'd be kick-ass. If the podcast blew up, or if I'm doing actual comic books at this point, or just the commission work, something I'm passionate about, which is all of those things. I'll do all of them at once or just one of them in like full swing, and I don't have to worry about where the money for the bills will come from.
That was an awesome question. Like that.
It really
that got me. That's got me thinking now. Now I'm like, oh man, what am I going to be doing in 5 years?
Yeah. And I would have to say, like, based on a lot of the, I don't know, like the podcast and interviews and like some of the people that I'm inspired by, listen to that. I think one of the best things you can do if you want to see yourself in a good place in 5 years is to not think too much about it and just do the most you can, like in the next 24 hours, every single day. Like, in fact, to quote a Huey Lewis song, he said in the song Jacob's Ladder, he says, "All I want from tomorrow is to get it better than today." Which the way he said it was like a pop song from the 80s or whatever. But like, I think that's a pretty good,
I mean, that's the danger of the five-year plan. A 5-year goal and all that, I think, is very good, like you were just saying. But
sure,
as soon as you start to try to structure the chaotic vortex that is life,
right,
it automatically doesn't work. So just, I know like you said, it was just a song lyric, but just make tomorrow better than today is, I think that is how you actually get there, because by your very nature of having that goal, you'll work your way there.
And there's all kinds of ways to do that. There's like little, like even just from reading that book, and we'll do an episode on that book, but just talking about just like enjoying even times when you're not doing anything, even if you're not making phone calls, you're not advancing your agenda or whatever, just like how to be calm by yourself, so stuff like that. Like that stuff seems like it'd be easy, but the more you go down like the rabbit hole of everyday life, you forget how to relax. You enjoy things.
You invite too much comparison.
Yeah.
And you're never going to measure up to what you're trying to attain.
And it's those little mysteries like that make it worth it. That's what I hope to know in 5 years, is how to literally just enjoy a day better than I do right now, and how to compartmentalize and how to, whatever, how to be happy like that.
That's a good goal.
I have a question here from a Mr. Zach Cole.
Zach Cole.
Yep. Mr. I know him as Cookie, but that's for another day. So he wants to know what your favorite time in history would be. Let's see.
Oh,
He said
man.
he wants to know your favorite time period in history. And he goes, I guess a better way to word it would be, if you could live in another time period, what would it be?
Those are two very different questions, I think.
That is two different questions.
All right, well, both questions then. What's your favorite time in history, and where one would you want to be?
Hunter, do you want to take a shot at that? And when you say time period in history, how much do we have to narrow it down? Are we talking like a decade? Are we talking like a period? Like, can we say the
Let's see.
the Renaissance?
Because
Or
my answer is a little.
I felt like I butchered it, so I pulled it up. And let's see here. I'd love to know your favorite time period in history. And another question is, if you could live in another time period, what would it be?
easy. I've got two different answers. Perfect. You want to go first?
As far as live is actually one I'd have to think about quite a bit, because I love history, but there's so much promise and problem in every aspect of history from now going back to the first day. So that one, I hate to give a non-answer, but I honestly don't know, because there's a bunch of places I'd like to live, and I've never tried to narrow it down. As far as favorite, I hope this isn't a non-answer because it's not meant to be, but early man to prehistory, which is such a vague, because I don't mean just prehistoric man. I mean after historical documents, but just like ancient Egypt back kind of stuff. Because that was a really messed up time, but there was so much innovation and so much discovery and so much, again, not that it wasn't hard and terrible, because it was, but if you, again, a traditionalist view of romance and romantic ideas and ideals and imagery, that is where you want to be. That's fire, that's passion, that's blood, that's sweat,
fucking
that's
great
mud.
answer.
So, and then
And like humanity, like a lot of humans
Yeah.
are seeing things for the first time. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many firsts, like prehistoric man.
yeah, I'm glad I don't have to be there. That's what movies and comics are for. So, but that's my favorite era. I
That's
don't
your
know
favorite
where
era? Is that where you would want to live?
No, but see, that's the thing, because
Okay, I
I
have two
think of the
different ones.
50s a lot for where I'd want to live, but also that was a scary time, and I think the 90s, but I did live there, so that doesn't really count. And I think of like the 1860s, because the Civil War was horrible, but historically I find it fascinating, but you wouldn't actually want to live through that. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I love so much of history, but I've thought about what it would be like to be there, but I've never really sat down and actually thought, like, where would you want to live? In all the eras I've talked about, I'd die. And even thinking of that, just being diabetic, like even in the 50s, there was so much of it being, no pun intended, a shot in the dark. Like I'd be dead at this point. I've been diabetic 20 years. So that's something to factor in, actually.
Jesus.
It is what it is, but
Fucking hey, that's okay. I think my answer is strikingly similar to Hunter's. In my case, my favorite period of time is also like a prehistoric time. This is super dorky. I'm going to say probably like the Jurassic period, the Cretaceous Jurassic period. Just because of that's my favorite time for life on Earth.
yeah.
Like, and it wasn't just dinosaurs. There was a lot of other cool shit.
Cockroaches the sizes of horses.
Well, for me, it's a big part of it's like the stuff that was in the ocean at the time. Like, and again, everybody's heard me go on about megalodon. But also Leopleurodon. There's so much gigantic. Leedsichthys, the largest fish that ever lived, was like a fish the size of a building. That was just like, and they were so big that when they died, they would just stop. They would just float, and things would eat them. Like they didn't swim off, they didn't sink. You couldn't hardly tell if they were dead or not. But they were gigantic. It's just a huge fish, like a big tuna. So there's so much cool shit back then. So just in terms of like life going crazy on Earth, and like that was definitely my favorite period that I know of. But if I could live in any period, it wouldn't be too far off from where. I mean, this is not. I mean, jokingly, we said like every time somebody gets a new app on their phone at work, we'll go, "What a time to be alive," or like Bluetooth, like a file back and forth with it. I mean, that stuff is pretty cool. But I think honestly, man, just from what I know about culture, pop culture, or modern culture, I think I would have just wanted to be born maybe like 40 years earlier than like. So instead of like being born in the late 70s and then growing up in the 80s and 90s, which is fucking phenomenal, don't get me wrong, I think I'd have rather been born maybe in the 30s, like after the Depression, or even during the Depression, and then grown up and actually been able to see the 40s, which I'm a big fan of, like some of the movies and stuff that came, like the MGM era. I think it's still the greatest era of cinema ever. When MGM Hollywood was just like insane.
I wouldn't argue
and
that at all.
You had Gene Kelly, you had Fred Astaire, you had Ava Gardner. I mean, just like I mean, forget about it. Stars beyond our comprehension today.
Yeah.
People were big, like it was ridiculous. And then that also, you would have grown up not only in the 40s, but in the 50s, and you would have seen like the Apollo mission, the space program, and you would have been around when astronauts were like rock stars, and still gotten to experience the 60s and 70s and just like all that gigantic. And you still be around today, probably,
Only problem is you would hate rock and roll.
No.
I don't know.
You don't
No.
think he'd be one of those people? Like, I mean, because, growing up into rock and roll.
Oh, I don't
Being
find,
older when rock and roll came out, a lot of people were like, well, it's the devil's music.
I don't know. I don't think for me,
That
it
actually
doesn't,
came later. That's
for
not-
me,
that
it doesn't
wasn't
feel
their
like an
early days.
age thing or a generational thing. Like
Yeah.
I think I don't know. The same elements that I love about rock and roll are also present in like big band music and also in a lot of different kinds of music, like pop,
Yeah.
whatever. I think I would have done just fine, but
also the star power, like just the character of people, and even again, bad stuff in every era, but the character of the country in general. The fact that these big Hollywood stars that were still the upper echelon of like money and fame and power as far as social influence goes,
Sure.
the Jimmy Stewarts of the world and all that.
The Frank
World War II
Sinatras.
happens and they fucking jet.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? This is big. Screw Hollywood. Screw the movies. We'll
Yeah.
come back to it. The directors that went to
they all
document.
like if they were either even enlisted, like
John
Elvis
Ford.
enlisted, and like they all went to fight, or they went
Yeah,
over there to
legit.
entertain. Bob Hope's over there entertaining the troops. Like it was. I mean, you want to talk about like there's
like
just
Jimmy,
a lot more.
Jimmy Stewart was like a decorated war pilot.
Sure.
In World War II, and then came back like just that type of commitment to, and not to crap on anybody nowadays, but just thinking the idea that like a Tom Cruise or a Tom Hanks or like a Christian Bale would see a need
Johnny
in the
Depp or
world,
somebody.
yeah, and go, I'll come back to this. This will be here when I get back.
I'm gonna go to boot
Here's my
camp.
2 to 3 years. I'm going to sign up and serve.
Yeah. I'll
Like
be in
that
Afghanistan
happened
for 2 years.
left and right.
Yeah. They had like a civil duty kind of. I mean, again, I'm not going to compare generations. And I realize that back then the country had a long way to go in terms of like civil liberties and
Right.
equality. And I get all that kind of stuff. But I don't just think those were dark times. I still think those are the golden age. Of
That
like,
was the age of
Americas.
optimism for America.
Yeah, I
really
feel like
think.
there were a lot of good things that kind of get glossed over now,
Mm-hmm.
and they want you to think that like everything was shitty before 1990, and like not really, dude.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the stuff that was coming out, the music, the movies, the culture, like people were very hopeful back then of a
Yeah.
better thing, and life was also at the same time. It was exploding, but it was simpler. Like I don't know. I thought it'd be cool to like live through that.
You should look up Eisenhower's military-industrial complex.
Oh, I've watched it a million times. And it all came true.
He talks about a lot of that stuff, actually, the optimism and everything, but how it's needed as a spirit for the society to counterbalance the darkness of the industry of war. So that's a different topic, but just yeah.
Casey, what do you think?
I thought you guys honestly forgot about me.
No.
I was sitting here waiting for you guys to be like, next question.
I wish I could.
I've been
forget
waiting
about
to
you.
hear what you were going to say.
Thanks. Thanks, Spence. I think my favorite time in history would probably be right after World War II. Just the amount of like peace, love, and like just getting along with everybody that went on.
Well, that's sort of
there's
time
still,
period I'm
there's still
talking about.
civil
Yeah.
rights, and there's racism and things like that. Of course, down south,
And everywhere, not just in the
well,
South.
I know,
It was
but-
everywhere.
But I still feel like at that point, at the end of the war, there was so much. It was just a boom everywhere.
There's so much to be joyful for.
But almost like innovation, financially, just I don't know how to put it. Honestly, the best way I saw it was in Band of Brothers. At the very end, when the war ended, and just watching how Ron Howard and Tom Hanks wrote out, the feeling, and these guys, who did the interviews before, who lived it, and they were just like, it's just, you can't put a word to how amazing it was that was over. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably my favorite time in history.
Yeah.
Where I'd want to live, like where I would want to go, would probably be like Great Gatsby era, like
20s?
the 20s, roaring 20s.
Oh, man.
You like
Parties
those
all the
flapper
time.
dresses, don't you?
Very fascinating.
Dress real nice, drink real heavily, smoke a lot.
Chase the green light at the end of the lake.
Yeah.
Casey, nothing's stopping you from doing that now.
My health.
Yeah, I get it. No,
Which is
I know
fine.
what you're saying. I think that's a fascinating time too. And I will say this, man. Like, speaking to the point of like that things weren't always so bad. And again, the standing joke is like how much older I am than everybody else on the podcast. My dad was also very, very. My dad was actually in World War II, and all of his stories. He was deployed in the Philippines, and all of his stories from his time in the war are all happy stories, funny stories. Funny thing happened. This guy in the troop did this. I mean, there's some like kind of scary ones too, but overall, he didn't look at it as like this horrible thing. Like people just went to war and they made the best of it. And there was I don't know, man. There was a lot of coping mechanisms, I think, that are kind of lost on like maybe our whole modern society. Yeah, maybe there's some lessons there to be learned. You always realize as you get older that your elders were always right. Maybe not about everything, but like generally about how to cope with life. They were right when they said you shouldn't do that, and you thought, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, they did.
Well, you want to talk about like we need to get back to the mailbag, but just to wrap that up, like you want to talk about knowing that there was something different about the world and the way modern society has changed it, and not for the better. I would say you go to World War I with the trench battle that happened, where the two sides decided on their own to have a ceasefire and sing Silent Night of all things to each other because it was Christmas Day and these were just the grunts out in the trenches slaughtering each other. They were following orders. They did not hate each other and they shared the same faith. So they were like, we're gonna rejoice together and we're gonna celebrate on this day. And the sadness is that they had to go right back to fighting, but they took a day off. Yeah. The actual fighters were like, you know what? Our faith and humanity and the God that we believe in is so strong that we're going to stop for now.
And there's something to be said, like that. There's a lesson there. Like not everything exists in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Like there's violence and there's peace, and they don't always. They're not always the antithesis of each other. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're in the same situation, and that's where like the character of humanity comes into question, and it's like a big deal. Like there are terrible situations that have a tremendous amount of like humanity in them. Mm-hmm. Again, this is like super serious, but like that's a big that I've heard that story, and that's one of the most riveting fucking things I've ever heard.
Yeah. Casey, you have another question lined up?
Actually, I was gonna let one of you guys take. Anybody got another
Let's see
question?
what I've got one here from our faithful friend and listener, Mr. Benton Davis. We call him Frosty. That's his nickname. We recently were coworkers until he had to move away to begin a new life in another place. Frosty, we hope you're listening. He still sends me awesome fucking song. He's got the best taste in music. He's rad. And he'll send me like a text, and he'll have like a album. He'll go, stop whatever you're doing and listen to this right now. And he's always right. Frosty, I love you. And I'm going to go to the question you sent in, and it was a good one too. And I've lost it like an irresponsible turd. Let me pull it up here real quick. He said basically, if for whatever reason, and I love the hypothetical nature of this, if you had somebody that had never listened to music, for like say they've been deaf their whole life or something, and then their hearing is restored, and you wanted to explain to them what music was, what are 2 albums you would show to somebody that's never heard music to get them started off on the right track? I think that's a great question.
I think I actually have. Hold on, let me.
You've got an answer already?
I think I do. Let me look up to make sure it's the correct album.
I don't know what.
I've got 2 albums right.
You got it all right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You go.
One with lyrics, darkness, aggression, passion, sadness, the whole emotional spectrum and sonic spectrum would be Slipknot's third album, Volume 3. And that is to give them the cacophonous side of it. Like, this is what it's capable of.
Right.
From just an aggressively emotional level across the whole spectrum.
Okay.
Then, if you
Not
want
what
to
I
take,
expected.
if you want to take all of that away and go classical instrumentation, but not actually classical music, something that is also profoundly powerful from an emotional level that has almost no lyricism at all, is Return of the King soundtrack.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, that's really moving tunes, and it helps to have seen the movie, but there's something about the power of those melodies and those instruments joined together. You don't have to know what the part is that they're, the dark war drums or the actual theme song that gets you going. I think Into the West is the only actual song with like a verse-chorus structure on that entire album. That's 19 songs.
Sure.
18 of which are primarily instrumental. And in that realm, you can go, this is also the softer side, but it still covers the entire... Return of the King soundtrack, I think, covers the human experience
Wow.
I mean, that's hyperbolic, but I believe it.
No, that's
one of
pretty
my favorite
broad.
soundtracks.
Casey, do you have anything?
My first one would be Pink Floyd's "The Wish You Were Here." It would be the album.
Is that Dark Side of the Moon?
No, I believe the album's actually just "Wish You Were Here."
I thought that was
Hold on.
Dark Side of the Moon.
That's off of an album for sure. It's either The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon. I'm pretty sure. That's a great one.
It
Dark
is a
Side of the
great
Moon
song.
is one of the biggest albums of all time. Mm-hmm. I think it holds a Guinness World Record for being on the charts for like 20-something years or something crazy like that. It's still on the charts, I think. Nuts.
My second one, I'd go classical, like probably.
You can say Mozart?
No,
were gonna say- he was gonna
Vivaldi, probably.
Vivaldi?
Yeah.
Whoa.
The cheese?
No.
Velveeta.
Boom.
Sorry.
See, I look up the album "The Wall" and it just wants to give me the movie, not.
It was
pretty
either
sure-
The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon.
Everybody listening to this, it's like a big Pink Floyd fan. It's going, what the fuck is wrong
I
with
know
you guys?
they're
Of
so
course
mad at
it's-
me.
No, that's pretty. Pink Floyd is a really good one. That's
think
almost
just
like you
anything Pink
cram
Floyd.
classical and rock all into one thing, and like because it's got so many layers. I'm gonna say, this is what I call a loaded question because I'm such a music.
I'd probably show
nerd.
the Temptations as well if they've never listened to music.
Man,
before.
I'm gonna.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
I'm
good.
gonna go. People are gonna be. I know one person that's gonna be fucking furious at this, and that's Valerie Buckner. I'm gonna say Butch Walker.
God,
I'm gonna
here we go.
listen. Let me defend that, okay? And I understand all the music in the universe. And then
I
you've
actually
got
really
this
like
guy.
Butch Walker. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I would play that for somebody. And I'm not even gonna narrow it down to an album because every one of his albums has something on it that will absolutely break your fucking heart. And it's the most sincere. Like I would play that for somebody because to me that's what musical humanity sounds like at the testing point.
Cigarette Lighter Love Song is probably the one song that if anybody was just like, I'm in a
Father's Day,
relationship,
the
I'm
song
feeling
about his
down.
dad being dead. Listen to that and tell me the hair on your. If you listen to Butch Walker's song Father's Day, and the hair on your fucking arm doesn't stand up, you're not human. I don't give a fuck. But the guy has a way of like, I mean, he will excite you because he's got the most exciting music, in my opinion, almost this super exciting rock music, and he's got all these like he'll sit down at a piano with a bottle of wine and just make everybody in the whole room cry. And he'll get back up and then blow your fucking head off with a guitar. I mean, just so pick any Butch Walker album. I would start with that, just to basically show somebody what's possible, what human beings are capable of with music. And then for the other album, that's tough. I don't know.
Sorry for that, audio
No.
listeners. that noise.
Maybe something like I don't know. I want to say like I'd play like a classical symphony too, but man, honestly, I don't
Maybe
know.
Stairway to Heaven.
No,
Zeppelin?
that's not me. Maybe something like honestly like Thriller. Just
Michael
not a bad
Jackson.
choice,
That's not a
yeah.
bad choice.
I mean, it's the #1 album of all time. I mean,
Maybe throw a little Bruno Mars in there.
No.
well, no, that's not
No.
bad. Just or
is
and
bad.
or just to go back to like I don't know. I love stories about how people heard Van Halen for the first time and it just like changed their whole life. If you were at that age in the '70s and that when that happened, it split the world into like two parts before this and after this. So maybe something like that. But honestly, I don't know. There's so much music. I can't even pick another album. I get that's a rough one for me. Maybe Foo Fighters, Color and the Shape. Is
Okay.
nearly a perfect album. Like the one with Monkey Wrench and Everlong. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's a good choice.
But something by Butch Walker and then something else rad. Or you know what? Just 2 albums by Butch Walker. Take that. And wait, there's a second part to this. Did everybody answer?
Yeah.
The second part says, and this is directed specifically for Casey. Frosty
That's
says,
2.
yeah. Frosty says, what are 5 albums Casey would take with him to Mars?
And see, I couldn't. You told me this before, so I could prepare a little bit, and I still can't think. One of the albums I would take would be a Rise Against album. Let me look up the name of it. Real
That's
quick.
really good. That's good.
Appeal to Reason, Rise Against album. It's one of their, I want to say 2011, and it's the one CD out of their entire collection that I can listen to every single song over and over and over again without getting tired of.
Okay.
It's just a really good album. Honestly, I'd take Awaken My Love by Childish Gambino.
Okay.
I'd love that. I would take, because he doesn't specify, I would take a whole Pink Floyd
box set.
There
you go.
Just
That's
one
good.
collection of all of his stuff.
And honestly, like we could have probably summed that whole entire two album question up by just saying like Pink Floyd box set, AC/DC box set.
Yeah.
Game over.
Game over.
Not good enough.
So that's 2 I have there. I'd probably take Californication, Chili Peppers.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were asking me earlier if I was a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, and I didn't finish. I am, but I'm way further back in the catalog. Like the albums I liked were Freaky Styley, Mother's Milk, and even all the way up through Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And I don't hate them after that, but like to me, Mother's Milk was one of the most prolific albums fucking ever. But that was a real specific time when funk and rock kind of met, like in 1990 or something, and all these bands like Faith No More and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Primus exploded onto the scene, and music almost got super cool, and then everything became corporatized.
Man, this is tough because I have 3 more, but I'm already at 3. I'd probably do Run the Jewels
Okay.
because it's just, I mean, why not? And the last one, I'm going to say it's
I feel
a
like
tie.
Run the Jewels would be cool to have if you were on Mars.
Yeah.
Like if you're in some weird vehicle and you're like going through exploring these like crazy that would be a good one to listen to as you're like driving around on Mars.
Californication would just make me lonely on Mars. I'm not gonna. I mean, it's a good album, but
Barely
that,
seeing Earth way over
yeah,
there
that
in
would
the
just
distance.
make me miss Earth.
That's why I Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Just listen to that. The last one's going to be a tie because I can't choose between these two.
Cop out.
I know. This Is All Yours by Alt J,
Okay.
which is the album that came with the song Something Good, which is just a phenomenal song in my opinion, and that's all I would listen to. And Traveler by Chris Stapleton because, I mean, the album title is
You should
Traveler.
go with that one. not
Man,
the other one.
I'd like to make an observation about your answer. Like a lot of those are very recent in the terms of like the entire like most of those are last couple of years. That means
Which is weird because I've always thought that music's kind of fallen off the last 10 years. But I
it
guess,
depends on where you look.
yeah.
But that means to me that means like you're kind of having like a I don't know like a musical renaissance in the last couple of years, which is super. I haven't felt that way in
Also, my
a lot of
musical
years.
taste is very broad. I had somebody recently. I was given a ride, and they were looking in through my CD case, and they were like, "Do you just like everything?" I was
Yeah.
like, "I like little bits of everything.
No better way to be, man.
I'll buy." I mean, I should probably get like an iTunes or a Spotify account because I'll buy albums specifically for 1 or 2 songs, and then of course I'll end up falling in love with 5 or 6 of them. But yeah, there you go. There's
Well, we're starting to get near the end of our time. I think we need to go ahead.
I
And,
got one more.
which one are you thinking?
You're thinking of the hateful one that Valerie sent.
Fuck yeah, I am. I was about to read it. Have you got something before that?
Yes, I do.
Hit it.
Okay. I've talked to you about this one before, and you were excited about it.
What?
This is from my buddy Aaron.
Okay.
Aaron's a good friend of mine.
Aaron, what up?
I'm sending him a hug through this podcast right now. He can't see it. My arms are stretched out.
He's hugging himself.
you're
Actually, you're not
weenie.
stretched out.
But Aaron threw us a question at the email account and wants to know if you could choose to be any original Universal monster, which is Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, basically Monster Squad.
Yeah.
Who would you be and why? And I thought that was an awesome question because I love monster movies. And we talk about monster movies maybe a little too much on here.
You guys go ahead. I'm going to have to think about that.
You
one.
ready for a short answer for once from me?
Really?
Yeah, get ready for this. Creature from the Black Lagoon because he's the coolest.
Yeah, and he just takes unconscious women.
I love you, Libby.
Mine's not any better. I'd choose Dracula. Also kind of rapey.
Man,
Because he's rapey. That's your why.
No, it's not my
I
why.
said because he's cool. You said Dracula, he's rapey. Which means that's who
not
and why.
my why. I just think, I don't know. I've always had a fascination, not with like the Twilight vampires, but I've had a fascination with vampires in general as monster, like just the monster movie, like the vicious vampires, like John Carpenter's vampires or American Vampires, the comic, the graphic novel series. They just made them look really cool, and just the immortal idea. Like, I think it'd be interesting to live forever, although I'd probably get sick of it about 100, 200 years.
Well, I know that you vaunt that quite
Also,
a bit.
I don't like body hair that much. I mean, I know I have a beard, but outside of the beard, I'm not really a big fan. So Wolfman, no thanks. Frankenstein, I don't want to be reanimated. The Mummy, I really like Egyptian like culture, but I don't think I would want to wake up in a tomb. I don't know. Yeah, Dracula, definitely Dracula.
You might be leaning vampire because in the UV lights we use when we record, you're sparkling a bit.
I'm gonna go with Creature from the Black Lagoon too.
Yes.
Just no really good reason. I just think it's the fucking coolest.
It's the coolest
and
one.
that iconic poster of the thing coming up out of the swamp behind the woman, and like it just
Clint Eastwood's first film role.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It was in the second one, but yeah.
Shit, that alone, that's good enough.
It's really weird because I honestly like my favorite type of horror movie monster is a werewolf. I just couldn't see myself being
I would never
want
to do that.
I would never want to be a werewolf. Like the transformation would be painful every time. Mm-hmm. Although I do think they are the most badass of all the monsters.
I would agree with that. It depends on the type of vampire, but generally speaking, I think you're going to win with a werewolf. You get a question, Spencer?
I was just preparing for the final email.
So Creature of the Black Lagoon for Hunter. Same with Spence.
Yep.
Outside of the horrible transformation, I probably would pick a Wolfman, but I'm going to stick with Dracula. So there we have it.
Well, just real quick, Dracula or vampire?
Dracula.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if I could choose a specific vampire. Probably Nosferatu.
That's Dracula.
Is that Dracula?
Yeah.
Really?
It's literally a bootleg unofficial adaptation.
Well, shit.
They're remaking that movie.
It's going to be badass. I'm not pooping on it, but that's what it is. It's Dracula.
That's fair.
With mouse teeth.
All right.
The last question.
Would you like to read the final email?
Actually, I would.
Okay. We want to go ahead and say, I'm going to cast my... first off, thanks for sending all these in, you guys. I thought these were all great questions, and it's fun to answer them, and it's fun to think about.
I've had a blast with this.
Yeah, it's good. And we're going to keep doing these, too, so keep them coming. Send funny ones, send serious ones. We don't care. We want to address stuff you guys want to hear.
Jesus.
After Hunter's guts finish blowing up. But
I'm so sorry.
I want to say thanks for sending everything in, and I'm going to have to vote. I think we saved the best for last. This isn't really one that...
It's not fair that you saved this one for last. It is a great question, but all the questions were great.
All the questions were great, but none of them quite, you got to admit, none of them quite had this much of a punch.
This is
the Beacon House does not give out
gut,
participation trophies.
Right,
Number one right here.
Yeah,
all right.
So we're going to let Casey read this. This is from a previous guest of ours.
Last episode.
Valerie Buckner Tippett, VBT. She sent an email in after we reached out asking for more questions, and she really got after us on it. So we'll let Casey read it to you.
Hi, Tipbuck here. Long-time heckler, first-time caller. I was wondering if you guys could discuss why Butch Walker is so overrated. I think the listeners would appreciate a detailed breakdown. Thanks. I also enjoy your ability to sound remotely tolerable on air and how thinly veiled Hunter's masculinity is. I rate this podcast 2 dicks up. Fun for mostly the whole fam, but mainly the creepy nonverbal cousin who's really into literary dioramas. Hunter's not clapping.
That's because there is no veil. It's been lifted.
And again, there's that dig at me about Butch Walker. I'll kind of take a minute to answer that. Why is Butch Walker so overrated? He's not. Eat shit. So, and I love you. But okay, so that said, that was the most scathing email that we received.
Yeah,
There's a lot more. We got multiple questions from John Ferguson and a bunch of people. We're going to get to those later. But we want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, please, if you can, we just now are starting to realize it's important. If you subscribe, if you give us a rating, if you give us a review, all those things help get the podcast in front of more eyeballs, and that helps us. So if you feel so inclined, maybe subscribe or, recommend it to your friend or something.
And we do jointly want to apologize for making you ever think we knew what we were doing.
That's 100% true. We didn't. Who fell for that?
I hate you both.
All right. Well, and on that note,
I love you too.
We're going to sign off. I'm Spence.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Casey.
And we've been the Beacon House Podcast. We'll see you guys again soon.
Love you.
Bye.
Shut up, you two.